That didn't happen. And if it did, that's not a big deal. And if it was, that's not my fault. And if it was, I didn't mean it. And if I did, you deserved it. Now this conversation is over, I'm done talking about it. The Narcissist's Prayer. Hello, it's time to do another deep dive in the poisonous waters of Sweet Baby Inc. This is another seminar talk by the evil queen herself, Kim Beliar. Now, just as a side note, we should never take what she says at face value. As we all know, she's a con woman. But today, we shall go over this talk and I will help you understand her sneaky sweet language. Now, are you all seated comfortably? Good. Then I begin.
Hello, I'm Kim Beliar. In my circles, I'm largely considered, I think, a relatively nice person.
First warning sign already, and it's only been 15 seconds. A smart person who hears that knows that person isn't who they say they are.
These are my dogs, Sage and Flaky. These are my cats, Tag and the Gray Boy. I really enjoy Lego. I collect skulls and taxidermy, and I also really like playing a lot of video games, including Elden Ring. By day, I am the crazed CEO of Sweet Baby Inc., the DEI-obsessed censorship mafia who is currently ruining and wokeifying all of the video games that you've ever played. Thank you. Thank you.
Yep, clap you obedient little seals.
Please clap.
Hard work. If you haven't heard of Sweet Baby Inc., thank you. That's actually how I prefer it. But if you have, it's either because of the over 80 amazing and often award-winning games that we've worked on, or actually one of those, Usual June, was at this very conference. So yeah, you've either heard us from all of these wonderful games, or perhaps you're familiar with the nearly year-long hate campaign that has been waged against us.
Hate campaign? You mean consumers are not happy that you've invaded a community's hobby by poisoning its waters, uprooting the beautiful green splendour, and throw your trash moles everywhere? Don't get me wrong, we blame the very companies who opened the gates to the Sweet Baby Inc. barbarians. But the only reason people like me caught them with their hand in the cookie jar is when one man went after another who created the Sweet Baby curator and tried to get his Steam account taken away from him, which of course is the big fuck up, which we'll get into later. I swear, these people don't know the meaning of harassment. They've always been told that any criticism or being proven wrong needs to be eradicated. But for them, it's rules for thee, but not for me. And their only go-to tactic is always play victim of oppression to get what you want. Like a 5-year-old not getting their own way by calling their parents mean, rotten, or evil.
I won't talk to you ever again! You're a rotten, mean father! You never give me anything I want!
It's just sad and pathetic.
Unfortunately, today I'm here to talk about that in a talk I'm going to call What Happens When You Get Harassed? A Sweet Baby Story. So I'm going to start at the beginning. Who is Sweet Baby Inc.? We are a narrative development company, and we are a team of narrative developers. What that means is that we do script writing, storytelling, narrative work for video games. And
as she's explaining what they do, wrapped in a green present with a white bow to make it seem lovely from the outside, but remember, on the inside it's full of employees who are taught to lie about what they are doing. Just like in the previous Sweet Baby video with the example when I used Stratton Oakmont from The Wolf of Wall Street of it being a cult. The very employees were taught to lie, and everything they did to destroy people's financial welfare was justified by saying, that's our money in your wallet. You also had shills and journalists who tried to gaslight us by saying, oh no, they don't really do that. They don't try and change video gamers' behaviours. It's all in your mind. Your mind is full of bigotry and hate. You don't want to upset the apple cart to be labelled as a picky baby gamer or be on the hit list, so drink the delicious Sweet Baby water and keep your mouth shut. It's literally like the scene in Avatar where they say, there is no war in Ba Sing Se.
You have to believe me, they're firebenders. They won't stop until they win the war. Calm down. You're safe now.
There's no war in Ba Sing Se.
What are you talking about? Where do you think all the refugees come from? You can't hide it.
There is no war within the walls. Here we are safe. Here we are free.
But in their case, there is no sweet baby poison in the video game lake. The water is sweet and refreshing to drink. You're just too anxious and worried. Calm down. You are safe. Continue to drink and relax. Video game journalists and Sweet Baby Inc., all they're good at is lying. Nothing more. The reason why they keep getting hired is playing on people's anxieties thanks to 368 million users being on social platforms like Twitter. Unfortunately, due to the massive worldwide decline of critical thinking, especially in the West, they go and proclaim to be victims while they go after people's families or try to get them fired from their jobs. Gamers are not going to forget the skanks like Alyssa McCartney that try to lockstep and damage people's reputations, or harass one's wife, like in the case of Smash JT. This is why they always play Bo Peep and innocent in their presentations.
You know, I care for you. Why do you hate me so much?
Don't you act Bo Peep with me. You know why.
Sometimes that means that we come in for writing punch-ups. Sometimes that means we're the entire writer's room for a project. Sometimes that means we're coming in very, very early on and helping them start the groundwork, the world building. But what I want to really stress is that all of our work focuses very heavily and very seriously on story.
When they say start the groundwork, it means they have so many blueprints already of what they want the games to be. So the developers who already made in post-production or have even already started, they're going to be told to change everything regardless. So they can save blame and they could take the heat off themselves and say, it wasn't us, the developers had the plans already from the get-go. But they are both to blame, as the developers are the very ones who hired them in the first place. It's like when a child eats a cake when they're not supposed to, and they convince their sibling or friend to join in the temptation. So when they both get into trouble, the blame or punishment will be shared, instead of being solely on them, or in worst cases, get them to take the fall by threatening them of what will happen if they don't.
On story, that is what narrative development is. We started out in 2018, but it was really in 2020 that we kind of came to any kind of industry prominence. And it was on a backdrop of the COVID quarantine, sending everybody home from the office. Me Too sweeping through the games industry as various bad actors were named and shamed, appropriately, I should say. And also the Black Lives Matter protests were...
Imagine that, the time when people were hyper anxious and hysteric. In history, when people are anxious and desperate, you can make them do anything, no matter how evil or stupid the decision or act is. They will trade their liberties for an easier and quieter life and show they are a good citizen, in which we have seen from 2020 to 2022. The perfect time for the Sweet Baby Inc. cult to invade the gaming space, where everyone stuck themselves in their homes and minds of the bliss of solitary confinement, not knowing what's going on.
At the time, the industry was kind of responding in the way you might imagine, with a lot of corporate overpromising. But within the writing sphere, there were a lot of offers for portfolio reviews. Like, hey, if you're a marginalized or especially a black dev, we would love to give you a portfolio review. And
I wonder why there were lots of portfolio reviews for marginalized black devs. Again, a word I really hate. Oh, right, because thanks to the peaceful protests of Black Lives Matter riots that destroy people's livelihoods, and the death of the fentanyl criminal who's been in and out of prison more than an adrenaline junkie at a theme park, St. George Floyd, raised people's anxieties to wonder how can they prove they are not racist. Yeah, Sweet Baby were rubbing their hands together when that happened, saying,
Here comes the money.
Here we go. Money talk.
Here comes the money.
The Sweet Baby portfolio review really means, let me re-educate you. Let me take away everything that you once were, your beliefs, morals, education and life experiences out of your soul, and I put my personification into your hollow husk. On top of that, I'm your new handler, so what I tell you goes. Don't you dare ever think for yourself. Let's not forget, she even said Even if your friends don't have the experience to work in the video game industry, but you have extra budget, hire them so they can get quote-unquote experience to work in the industry while in our brainwashing programs that you signed up for. Again, it's part of the strategic conquest without getting your hands bloodied, by getting vulnerable people into becoming just like them.
I'm Judy. Welcome to Ba Sing Se.
I'm Judy. Welcome to Ba Sing Se.
We're so lucky to have our walls to create order.
We're so lucky to have our walls to create order.
Hello, my name is Judy. I have been given the great honor of showing the avatar around Ba Sing Se. You're in Ba Sing Se now. Everyone is safe here.
I want to say I love portfolio reviews. It's something that we also do at Sweet Baby for free. So if anybody in the audience right now is looking for a little bit of a portfolio review or wants to talk about video games, we'd love to do that. But the problem with portfolio reviews is that they also assume that it's a meritocracy, right? They assume the problem is your portfolio and not the fact that maybe there's a lot of other reasons that you are not getting the gig. So knowing that there were a myriad problems to be solved, we created an email called talk@SweetBabyInc, and we just said, hey, if you're a developer who wants to get into the industry, if you're someone who's already in the industry and you want to talk, just talk to us. And so in that year, we ended up with a lot of people who we connected to, and we talked a lot about advocacy, we talked a lot about helping people get into the industry, and we also talked a lot about the importance of telling stories from a variety of perspectives, and especially of having those writers and those creators in the room to help you with that. And as we joined new conversations, as we worked on more projects, more people joined our team, and so in that year, or in...
It isn't. It is! The lip smacker himself!
Years, we grew from a team of only 5 to a team of 16 incredibly talented people. And
you mean brainwashed cult members?
During that time, as you might imagine, a lot of game teams were looking for guidance, both in terms of narrative, but also in terms of learning how to tell.
Roll the clip.
So this is kind of all up in the air, but I want to give an example of what these kinds of wins can look like, or at least what they have looked like in the past for me. And I kind of want to say, okay, imagine me now as a player, because this is my go-to example, and it's something that I talk about all the time, and it's the first time that I ever made a black character in a video game. And this is genuinely embarrassing to relate to a crowd of people, but for a really long time before this, when I was offered a character customization screen, I was like, well, I can't put myself in there because that's weird and not what video games are. And so I made some stubbly white dude protagonists, even when I had every option available to me, because I didn't want to feel like I was putting too much of myself into this world where I didn't belong. And it's wild to think about. I just created Nathan Drakes and was like, go, explore every game.
Or fiction. It's fiction. It's fiction. It's fiction. It's fiction. You're wrong.
She makes it out if she's the first person to tell diverse stories or characters. It's always been in there, Kim. And video game companies didn't need con artists like you to make diverse stories or characters. I mean, for example, in the Final Fantasy series, you have characters like Barrett and Minwu, who have great stories and character designs. Or fighting games like Eddie Gordo, Raven from the Tekken series, or Elena and DJ from the Street Fighter series. Again, made by Japanese developers who did research on people's cultures and backgrounds to make awesome character design, which of course Sweet Baby Inc. can't do because they don't have the talent, as they were just self-inserting themselves in the games instead. I mean, usual June is a dead giveaway of it looking like Kim Beliar herself.
I was offered a character customization screen. I was like, well, I can't put myself in there because that's weird and not what video games are. Diverse stories and featured diverse characters. And so naturally, because we were kind of in that conversation, we helped them. Throughout the years, again, we worked on, as I said, a ton of games. For most of these, we did writing, story development. Sometimes we just kind of came on and did spot checks. But the thing that genuinely made me really, really proud of all of us was that we were living up to the title that I had wanted to. We were becoming true narrative developers, capable of taking on pretty much any task as far as it touched story on any project at any time. And that expertise was a result of all the different kinds of work that we were doing.
As uncomfortable I don't want to admit it, unfortunately, she's right. Because look at the titles and the companies who opened the gates to them. Spider-Man 2 by Insomniac, it sold extremely well. Here's the question, why hasn't there been any DLC for it? Oh right, because all the fans hated the story and made Miles Morales take the title Spider-Man from Peter Parker at the very end, leading to a huge backlash and developers saying they love to tarnish the Spider-Man legacy of Peter Parker as well. Oh, and let's not forget that since Sony is their boss and they just lost $400 million thanks to Concord, is it really a coincidence that they announced there is no DLC?
About balancing acts, like the biggest wrinkle into this whole Spider-Man Venom kind of dichotomy of them is Miles is here now.
Yeah.
Like that's not something we
called Spider-Man 2 for a reason.
Yeah. So early on, I was totally bought in, loved it. And then I got to a point where Peter started pulling away because of the symbiote and everything.
Yeah.
And he kept just brushing off Miles.
Yeah.
And I was getting frustrated.
Good.
I was so angry.
Good.
Every time I was like, this is terrible.
You can say he was a dick.
He was. I hated.
Wait, can I swear on this?
Yes, it's totally fine.
Okay.
It was terrible. I hated that. And I was just like, it brought back so many memories for me and my own personal life that I could relate to of times like that.
That's awesome. And I think the thing is, Peter is such a likable character that one thing we struggled with was how much can we make him unlikable and for how long can he be unlikable?
How much can we make him unlikable and for how long can he be unlikable?
Let's talk about the MJ missions a little bit.
Okay, let's talk about it.
Because you made her like the most OP character in the game. Let's just get it out there.
She's OP.
One-shot everybody.
She's OP.
How did those come together? Like what was the...
So I knew that those missions weren't the fan favorites coming out of Spider-Man 1. And we had two choices. We could say, all right, we'll make it easy on us and just not do it. And everybody would go, great, no MJ missions. Or we could say, hey, we've talked about this, showing the world from all different angles. We're going to make her moments better. We're going to take on the challenge. We're going to make people like playing as her. We pick and choose our spots. We knew we had to make her more of a proactive, capable person. And if she's a little OP, I don't give a shit. She's fine. I don't care. I wanted her. I felt like it would be taking the easy way out if we didn't make her play. To the point where I said, we're going to do it. I don't care. We'll cut other stuff because I want to make sure that it's important to show her be a capable hero. I think it's really important. And you don't need, this might sound cliche or whatever, cheesy, but like, you don't need to have powers to be a hero.
Yeah.
And I wanted her to show that. And
who aren't you? Tell us.
Tell us now.
Or the failure of Alan Wake 2 that has still not made a profit yet, made Alan Wake himself no longer the protagonist and have a new black female lead, Saga Anderson, who never calls for backup that will lead her to her own demise, because she's a girl boss and she don't need no man, and has so much plot armor thanks to her supernatural abilities.
Then when we are not playing him, there are a lot of things that tie the story to him, and there are other ways how he is present in those moments as well.
The character of Saga, she's an FBI agent and relative newcomer to the Bright Falls area. She is a really capable investigator. She is a mom. She's a teller of bad puns. What's not to love?
She's enthusiastic about her job. She really enjoys what she does. But I think her most defining quality for me is her kindness. She's a very empathetic person, and she brings that into her work, and it makes her a better detective and profiler.
For the world to see Saga, because I think she's a brilliant role model, and just to see a woman in this role, a woman of color being a protagonist in a game that we don't see that often, and just to have a lifestyle that she has, doing her best to balance work and a family, and I just think that's really relatable for a lot of people.
Anderson, she's not just any FBI agent coming into this case. There are elements to this that very much tie to kind of who she really is, and a journey, a mystery to be discovered there as well.
Really, bitch? Thank you so much.
for wasting my motherfucking time.
Yes, they forced their ideology into well-known franchises that we once loved, and try to gaslight the real fans into silence by saying to those companies that the customers were the problem and cry harassment, so they can keep getting away with it time and time again.
For those not in the industry or not familiar with it, most game writers in their entire careers will see 5 to 10 projects as just, a lifetime. And we would see that many projects in a matter of months. And what
shouldn't that be a wake-up call? If game developers are seeing 5 to 10 projects in their lifetime career, but you guys are seeing those numbers of projects in a matter of months, isn't that showing that anything that has been tainted with the Sweet Baby ideology is en masse? I mean, they can change the name of the poison, but it's still the poison that kills the company.
What happens when you work on that many projects and you get to see the inside of so many processes is that you don't learn necessarily like, oh, here are the ins and outs of working in this specific company. You instead hyper-focus on narrative and all of its parts, and you get really good at it. You get really, really specific at it, and you become craftspeople.
Craftspeople? Oh god, this is what I've been saying from the start. What she really means is to train people to become habitual liars. A common theme, especially when you want to protect oneself from the consequences and throw others under the bus. But in this scenario, she wants people who are such good liars and tainters to sneak the poisonous ideology into the products without people realising what they've just ingested, because they know gamers do not want this sloppy poison.
And funnily enough, as far as this company is concerned, that was actually my end game. I wanted us to become craftspeople.
Just to say, every time you hear the term craftspeople, replace it with habitual liar. So her end game is to take over the industry and replace it with her habitual lying minions.
I'm Judy. Welcome to Ba Sing Se.
Because when I was a kid, I learned a lot about Carrie Fisher. And beyond her acting career, she was actually a very respected script doctor in Hollywood. And I remember finding that so fascinating and really, really striking because quite famously, she was someone who struggled a lot with the eye of fame, but it was so comforting and interesting to hear that in this community of artists and writers, she was deeply respected just for her craft. And if I'm being honest, just as a creative myself, that's all I've really ever wanted. I've never wanted to be known by audiences, really. I have never wanted to be known by gamers, certainly. And I've wanted to be... I have wanted to be known by game devs.
I wanted to be a video game narrator. I wanted to be known by the devs. But I don't want to be known by customers or the video game communities themselves. It's like someone saying, I wanted to be an actor, but I don't want people to see me or my face on stage. Why would you not want to be known by your core audience for your works, Kim? Oh, right, it's because you know deep down that they hate it. So in order for you to change that, you need to take over it from the inside out. Man, this BS is so ripe in this seminar. This is why Cabood's Sweet Baby Inc. curator was a problem for them, because it was blaring the siren to say to gamers, this is one of the consultancy firms that is ruining what we love. All that he was doing was reposting what Sweet Baby Inc. have said online and on their website. So it wasn't a conspiracy at all. But that's the con artist's worst nightmare, when someone finds out their con and tells the very people they have been duped. So then they'll be blacklisted by gamers and video game companies for not being trustworthy. And with the pushback that no company will hire them anymore, thanks to the boycotts from gamers, video game companies will have to concede by cutting the cash flow and start listening to their core audience again. Hence, the website whitewash.
And writers especially. I want teams and...
Any company that gives into Sweet Baby Inc., you deserve everything that is coming to you, from staff losing their livelihood, and you losing your company. Especially when you were told by your core audience time and time again that these consultancy firms are ruining everything and they don't want the poison in their games. As they say, the wallet is mightier than the virtue signalling. They can cry and whine and call us evil all they want, but in the end, we want serious people working on our hobbies that we love. Passionate and always gamers first. Like Blizzard used to be in the golden years. We don't want ideologues or sheep who just follow orders from their cult leaders and push political narratives. We want escapism.
Studios and writers and creatives to think of us when they need a hand, when they want that more support. I want to be a game dev's game dev.
Want to be a game dev's game dev.
It's called being handled. Get used to it.
And that's where I hoped it would be, but that is not what happened. Because in October of 2023, we had about 70 games under our belt at the time, but two of them, two very, very big ones, were about to drop within a week of each other. So on October 23rd, there was Spider-Man 2, and then on October 27th, there was Alan Wake 2, both big AAA games, and we had worked on narrative and character for both of them with literally years of work on Spider-Man 2, and we would finally get to announce them. We were very excited. In retrospect, we were actually comically excited because we had a couple thousand followers at the time, mostly game devs, and we were like, okay, it's time to stand up and be proud of our work. Wow, this is gonna be really nice. And I remember even thinking,
this is why critical thinking is a must, especially in the video game community right now. Let me explain. We know what Sweet Baby are doing, and about them trying to take over the industry while trying to craft and make the modern audience with their ideology. We know they want people to convert to them into becoming Sweet Babyanites and make them into habitual liars. So when they come up with phrases like this and make it sound and taste sweet, we can't take them at face value. We have to look at the back of the tin. We have to study the manual. We need to follow the money trail because that's how they get vulnerable, stupid and naive people to fall for the trap. But also it's a great way to rewrite history to say it was the gamers that didn't allow us to get to the promised land. It was them that stopped everything and caused the war. Sweet Baby had nothing to do with it. They were pure and innocent. Communism tactics 101, baby.
That morning as we made these posts, I wonder if anyone's going to notice that we posted about Spider-Man, we're also posting about Alan Wake. Will anyone put it together? Because I think our way of working at Sweet Baby, the kind of teamwork that we do on so
yeah, there's nothing unique than becoming the Black Widow of the video game industry. By conning people and the video game companies are putting your poisonous ideology into video games and the video game companies themselves as they slowly wither and die while you get the money. Yeah, nothing unique at all.
Many different games is really, really unique. I think it's really cool. I think people will be excited about it and about our craft. So I decided to do a cheeky Google and see hey, had anyone put that together? The Google went bad. I shouldn't have done it because rather than any praise or people going, wow, how did you do it? Or just, hey, a narrative development company, what does that mean? I'm really interested. We were instead found by kind of 4chan and the worst people on Twitter. And looking back, there is a funny element to it where I go
if you ever thought every modern AAA feels written by exactly the same people, it's because they basically are. Every AAA American game studio has been outsourcing their game writing to this shitty ESG-obsessed company. Sweet Baby Inc. are basically a branch of BlackRock that consults on ESG in gaming. Basically, if you want ESG funding, you need to pass the ESG scores by the company. The most sinister actors in any industry often hide behind a harmless or infantile mask to conceal their true intentions. This organisation has completely infiltrated the industry. Well, you can't actually quote on YouTube, but again, it's from a video. Everything is true except for the third one, but again, we'll get into that later. What do you expect, Kim? Once you become CEO, let alone a public figure, the internet takes no prisoners, especially those who have a background that wants to destroy a hobby and industry that one loves. Funny mentions 4chan users, but has no receipts from them.
People were kind of talking I've discovered a secret Canadian company. These are the guys who did it. And the discovery that they had made was actually our public-facing website that we advertise our services on and which you can go to right now if you'd like to collab.
Who wrote this? Who wrote this lie?
Why are you mad about it? Why did you try and get Kabood's Steam account and community taken down? Who was just reposting what you said online? Plus, you said you don't want to be known by gamers at all, only by game devs. Habitual lying on full display.
Right with us or just learn more. It's not hidden. And if it is, it's very bad because it's at sweetbabyinc.com.
Well, you just scrubbed your entire website. Oh, did I mention that the seminar was made before the website purge?
But literally within a few hours of me seeing that first post, we were not only being accused of, forcing a black person into Alan Wake, which one is cool, but we didn't do, and also of putting pride flags into Spider-Man's New York, which, again, so good, love to see them, but we were not responsible for them. But
when will the lies end?
We didn't do it, but if we did, it's a good thing. Just like in the Narcissist Prayer. This is turning into a Monty Python sketch at this point.
Suddenly, we were being told that we were, funded by BlackRock, and that actually we weren't a narrative development company. We were a DEI company, some kind of vaguely defined censor, and that we were here to use all of the power we had amassed to force companies to go woke.
This here is her weapon. As people make the claim they are part of BlackRock's branch, well, she may be right, as they are not the same branch or chain. However, they are based in Canada, and we have seen receipts that companies like that have been funded by the Canadian government. So down the line, it's possible Sweet Baby get a slice of that sweet money pie from the government. However, she can keep saying Sweet Baby is not a DEI company all she wants, but we know everything. She can't fool us.
And obviously that's a very baffling understanding of what work for hire is. I'm not sure how they imagine we did it or how the contracts would be drawn up for it, but
go have a coffee with your marketing team and just terrify them. With the possibility of what's going to happen if they don't give you what you want.
We're not stupid, Kim. We know.
It kind of didn't matter because it just kept evolving and spinning out of control, and suddenly the conspiracy was just alive.
It didn't spin out of control. You got caught with your hand in the cookie jar, and people showed the evidence.
They were finding photos of us, sometimes our families or our contractors. They were doxing me and other members of the team. Anyone calling these attacks out as doxing was accused of doxing themselves or lashing out.
I haven't heard any Sweet Baby employees getting doxed unless we count Alyssa McCarthy, but she was asking for it and some nutjob did the challenge accepted. After all, she doxed somebody else. I could be wrong, but the whole saga has not had any reports of a Sweet Baby Inc. employee being doxed.
That's me. I'm the CEO. I have issues.
Yes, you do. You need more than a therapist to see reality at this point.
But yeah, this went on for weeks and then months. At its peak, which was somewhere around February, March of this year, we were getting something like 300 emails a day, which admittedly some of those are going to be spam or bots or whatever it is, but they were often accompanied by death threats, threats to our family. We did have one bomb threat made to the police that they contacted us about, and at best, the nicest thing you would see in some of these spaces was that we were a punchline. But any defenders were really, really shouted down quite quickly.
But who can defend this evil poison? How, when you're the Black Widow?
In moments when this movement couldn't dig up another reason to attack us, they would just kind of move on to other groups who they perceived to be like us. All while, doing the work of erasing all of those people's and our actual jobs and interest and papering over it with kind of, that rallying cry of far-right supremacy, DEI.
Far-right supremacy, far-right supremacy. Yep, as I said in my previous Sweet Baby Inc. video, telling the truth or having critical thinking equals, add word here, supremacy. I mean, we're only halfway through this seminar, and all we got so far is Kim is a self-righteous Karen who doesn't want to hear the truth. Me and my ideology must always come first. Any disagreement is far-right supremacy. Jesus. But all we can say is, Kim, we're not far-right, we are right so far.
And as ridiculous and stupid as it all was, I actually was not prepared for the escalation of it when noted buffoon and Twitter CEO Elon Musk decided that he would chime in with his very cool thoughts.
Sweet Baby Inc. is an evil blight on the gaming industry. All they do is make games terrible and try to cancel people. They cannot go broke soon enough. All I can say to Elon Musk is, thank you. Thank you for acknowledging us. It's nice to see someone like him acknowledge the BS of what's happening in the video game industry. Kim doesn't want to look at that, let alone read, while she scoffs and looks away in disgust. because she knows it's the truth. But you, to call Elon a buffoon, this is the guy that's been launching rockets into space, has a successful business portfolio to the point he's literally funding the United States through taxes. I think it was around 11 billion per year, if I'm right. Her calling Elon a buffoon tells you how delusional and stupid she really is. She can't read the comment because how dare a mega successful white businessman call me out. So with Cameron Wild doing the same thing with Quentin Tarantino. So of course, when in doubt, victimize the shit out.
Yeah, some very good thoughts in there. Lots to think about. So this was hard the whole time. Like, not since the beginning, it wasn't great. But we were receiving countless emails, all this constant hate. It was targeted enough to feel disconcerting, even when it was kind of silly, and it was also kind of drowning out the support. But when Elon chimed in, it really made me realize the scale of it, because the richest man in the world was suddenly turning like the Eye of Sauron onto 16 people trying to make a pretty modest living in the industry that they love, and he was arguing for our collapse.
Good, because it's black widows like you who are poisoning the well of the video game industry. Let's not forget, if they don't get the outcome that they want and they lose the war, as a last resort, they want to burn the video game industry to the ground. Sort of like, if I can't have it, then no one else can. I want this company to collapse. I want this hustle to finally end. Now, I know a lot of YouTubers or people are going to say, may I be so coy and say, it's not nice to wish someone's demise or lose their job. No, fuck them, because they are evil people. They are sociopaths that have been brainwashing people to become just like them. They have no guilt, no remorse or shame about hurting anyone. They have no empathy or wish to understand another human life other than their own. These are habitual liars. They hate white straight people, or especially those who disagree and call them out. And I myself won't get the marginalized immunity. They will try and silence me as quick as possible, because someone like me with my background calling this out will make a lot of people of my similar background start being human again. And Sweet Baby can't have that. The illusion of the sweet innocent child that can do no wrong and can get away with anything has to be maintained.
And this meant that, it was when this happened and when it got bigger than this, you can tell I got it early as a screenshot, but it made us realize that this was huge. We were being attacked in a massive and coordinated campaign of harassment, and that sucks.
There's a psychological concept known as denial that I believe you're inventing. It's when a thought is so hateful that the mind literally rejects it.
But it does get me closer to the question of what happens when you get harassed.
Every time she says, when you get harassed, change it to every time you get disagreement.
First of all, just as a spoiler, like what happens when you get harassed is it sucks. I can't recommend it. If I had to rate the experience,
1.5, poor. Despair, sadness, doxing, threats of death, violence. Richest man in the world does a curse on you. Wikipedia page, Xoxo talk, become very good at Elden Ring. I wish that rich man did put a curse on you. Yeah, we all know Wikipedia can't be trusted. Good at Elden Ring? I highly doubt that, as the pain of constant death would test your patience. I bet if she tried to defeat Melania and she still can't do it, she'll call it white supremacy.
1.5 stars, probably. It's not the best. But more specifically, what happened during all of this, if I can kind of dig down into this review, is, we lost our voice. And we didn't just lose our voice as a collective, we lost our voices individually because...
No, you haven't. You were challenged back like what any human being is supposed to do. Then be naive and take things at face value. But you need to lose it sooner before you do any more damage. But here's the big brain IQ question. If you have actually lost your voice, then what are you doing here? How did you get hired for this seminar? Of course she's been hired and paid to talk to her fellow cult members. Not only do video game companies need to stop hiring Sweet Baby Inc., but they need to stop making their own concoctions of video game consultancy poisons. The evil religion of Bridge 2.0 and DEI needs to die, never to be brought back again upon the surface.
That means this thing needs to die.
People on our team were either hounded off of social media or, they get attacked so consistently that it just becomes frustrating to use. It's not enjoyable to hop on anywhere and get that wave of hate. So,
what do you think you were coming to? Do you think you were coming to a tea dance? Do you think the moment you start attacking the core audience and the communities, you'll be welcome to a tea dance?
Within Sweet Baby, beyond what we do for work, there are authors, there are comic book creators, there are TTRPG creators, game designers, people who have other work that they want to share with the world, that they should be allowed to share with the world. But just for existing within our company, just for working on the games that they do, they were attacked.
At least you said something correct for once. Yes, it's their choice to make whatever they want. But if you have to create content that the core audience wants, and that's what's going to make money, then you do it. If you have a passion and love to please the core audience, then it's not a problem. But the moment that you go against the core audience by hiring activists or people just like Kim that will attack them back by gaslighting and being a lecturing Karen, then of course, that core audience will clap back and go elsewhere. If you pull the dog's ears or you kick the hornet's nest, then of course, they're not going to sit down and take the abuse. They're going to fight back and they will make you feel the pain. Then of course, companies will slowly but financially delete themselves.
Even contractors, people who literally worked with us for a spot check, a week or a couple months. But there was really nothing we could do. And as silly as it is, and as little as I miss the current Twitter, as little as I regret leaving it, the loss of frivolity and, frankly, dumb bullshit is actually a little soupçon of dehumanization. Because I would love to post a picture of my latte or my dogs without people going oh, I guess coffee is woke now, and hey, that dog is pretty gay. But we weren't allowed. We are no longer allowed to be in the conversation without, what amounts to mass targeting. Look at him up there.
Yes, Kim, that is called the internet and criticism. You can't avoid it, especially on the internet and a social media platform. Yeah, they're going to be these people who would do these low IQ critiques, or maybe it was an act of being hyperactive or sarcastic. Who knows? Because you are not face to face with that person. But they are not the bulk of the criticism, and she knows that. What she's really saying, we can't do our habitual lying without pushback and being challenged anymore. And that's oppressive and wrong.
And don't get me wrong, people did defend us. Some very great folks, often writers, game devs, people who he had worked with, people he had not worked with, who could see this thing for what it was, but...
You mean the stupid, naive, and vulnerable people who fell for the brainwashing thanks to you, make them hyper anxious and afraid to believe the lie?
While I appreciated the defense and the team appreciated it so much, that support is still really hard to feel in the panic of the moment. And so instead, I felt really guilty. I felt responsible.
Good, you should be. However, going back to her being a habitual liar and being a sociopath, I can't take that at face value, let alone believe her, because she's the one that's saying that because she got caught and the criticism is coming back every time to bite her, then she plays the victim. Man, this narcissistic cycle is exhausting.
I felt bad not for doing the job that I love, but for building a space that was meant to be protective and creative for a bunch of people and having it turn into something that, through no fault of our own, saw my friends and my loved ones and my colleagues and my coworkers just viciously and brutally hurt. I felt bad for making a company at all. I felt bad for believing in it and for speaking on it.
I don't believe that, Kim. I don't believe that one single bit. You've already lost my trust. And now that you've been caught and you tried to play the victim, now going to try and guilt trip and pull me by the heartstrings, are proclaiming your sociopathic minions got the same consequences you did, and they didn't deserve it. Sorry, the innocent act is over. You all deserve what was coming to you.
People would come up to me, especially at events like I went to GDC, and they would very kindly tell me that they were inspired by me or by us and by our collective strength and our resilience. And I would say thank you so much, but deeply I would feel very ashamed.
Oh, I'm oppressed because of my marginalisation, but I still get hired and paid to go to events to speak, while I hustle and lace the waters at the video game companies with my sweet poison, thinking it's a video game consultation to make video games better. Oh, the humanity of it all.
I'm being oppressed.
Which intellectually I know is wrong, right? We are doing something good. We are writers and designers of tremendous skill and...
No, you're not. You're a con artist. You can't create anything, only self-insert yourself in our media. If you were the next Hironobu Sakaguchi, you would not be getting the heat in the first place, because it's your ideology that makes everything you touch die.
Everything I touch dies!
But again, it's the very companies that opened the gates to these activists and destroyed everything. They are seeing the losses right now, with huge layoffs and stock prices going down.
Tremendous experience, and we've never censored anything, nor have we ever wanted to. Frankly, if you really want my opinion, I think largely games could be hornier. I think they should be darker.
Isn't that what sensitivity reading is, Kim? To censor or to cut things out of stories because it may upset somebody? Speaking of which, you changed the protagonist in The South of Midnight from a white Southern belle into a black one. You changed the protagonist in Alan Wake 2 into a black female with so much plot armor. You say you want video games to be hornier, but you make women ugly and look like chest-binded men. Again, can't take her at face value.
I think they should be stranger. At the core of my approach here, and the approach that we take as a company, I genuinely believe that representation is not censorship, it is innovation. Diversity in narrative makes things more intense. It can make it more visceral.
Remember guys, when they say that or use the word diversity, they mean no white straight men or hot sexy babes allowed, or even less straight relationships.
And more real. It doesn't have to always make something more wholesome or softer. I really do believe that by opening up to new perspectives, by getting folks in the room, we actually push more boundaries and we get more real. But what happens when you get harassed is it doesn't matter what you believe.
Here we go, the reverse Uno psychology. She can deny all she wants and she can only see what she wants to see and believe what she wants to believe. But the truth and reality itself is always going to be in her face, if she likes it or not. She knows the mask has slipped. She knows gamers are fighting back. She knows the reason is because of her toxic ideology is killing the industry. But again, she has dehumanized herself to the point that if I showed her the data, the facts, the statements, the receipts, but it no longer matters to her anymore. Her ideology must come first.
What's also frustrating is that it doesn't matter what they believe either, because so much of this campaign is just misinformation. It's assumptions and lies about who we are, what we do, and what we want. We have worked on 80 games, as I've said before, and I think that's pretty cool.
Again, it's not just Sweet Baby. There are other consultancy firms who have been doing the same thing as well. Hence why you have to examine the bottle and its ingredients of the substance or test the water before you drink it. As I have shown in my Ubisoft and Rocksteady video regarding their 5-year plan and who they are working with, Sweet Baby is only a fraction of the problem. This is the reason why we can't always blame them, as they will keep using it as a defense to say to us gamers we're harassing them. It's like when people blame Sweet Baby for making Concord, even though they have no involvement in it. That's why I sometimes wish people did their research before making accusations. And for myself, I don't want to make videos as fast as possible because I want to get the facts right, as I don't want to lie to my audience.
But to them, it's something closer to 200. You know, we have our little fingers, our woke little fingers, in every pie in this industry. And that's the other thing that happens, right? It's they take away your power in some ways, but they also ascribe to you this enormous power.
No, because you had this power for too long. But you got this power because people were scared of not challenging you back, because they didn't want to be branded and labelled by all the buzzwords under the sun on their social media platforms. But again, it's stupid for video game companies to give in the first place. But yes, you are losing that power. Being kicked out and blacklisted is what we want. We don't want to have this ideology in our video games.
They'll claim that you are rich, that you are backed by, shadowy cabals, government orgs. They claim you have the ability to force their favorite studios to bend to your whim, rather than the truth, which is that studios and teams hire us to make stories better. Not woker, but actually...
Again, no. You're pushing a romanticized narcissistic ideology onto others and our hobbies. The way she says, not woker, better, proves how dedicated she is to make this utopia a reality. Even if it means video game companies and people's livelihoods have to be destroyed along the way, she has the power as she's been hired to do these seminar talks and gain more cult followers who can poison many more video game communities or companies' wells with her ideology, while lying, playing victim, and being the innocent Amber Dempsey.
Wait, she's about to bring out the big guns.
But people are believing her because they are all in the same cult and they both had the same goal. And they also hate gamers, either because of their naivety and their low IQ life experience, or they just want to fit in and keep their mouths shut. Otherwise, they get kicked out of the cult and be blackballed.
And believe me, when this first started, I was so worried that studios would stop working with us. I worried we seemed too toxic. I worried we seemed too dangerous, too beleaguered, too much of a risk to work with, but that is not what happened. What happened was, at least privately...
Yeah, because you told companies what will happen to them if they don't hire you. And thanks to everyone being scared and afraid in 2020, it was easy for you to invade without doing it by force.
Was quite supportive. The external silence, I'll say, was deafening at times and also frustrating, but such is the way of corporate. And it was still nice fundamentally, I think, to realize that studios, teams, and individuals still wanted us around and still saw our value.
The reason why is because it's part of the Bridge 2.0 scheme that they have to put the ideology into the background while making everything look sweet and innocent. Again, I don't believe her, because she's getting hired by these companies to do this. This is why voting with our wallet is mega important, and look out for the signs and patterns. Unless a company completely denounces and wants nothing to do with Sweet Baby Inc. and put their gamers first and give them what they want. And any backlash or attacks from those consultancies or video game journalists, they will ignore. Remember when Black Myth Wukong was getting attacked by IGN and the Chinese weren't going to stand for it and they bought the game in the millions because of their culture was under attack? That's the example us gamers should be doing, because we need to motivate the developers and companies knowing we have their backs.
Which I will say, though, is also a very disorienting experience, because what happens when you get harassed is that you realize that most of it is just noise and that nothing functionally or fundamentally changes. People say, I'm so sorry for what you're dealing with, but could I get that script on Monday? And you say, yeah, it sucks. Anyway, I will get that to you Monday, though.
Oh my God, I just want to slap and shake you.
This is just too exhausting. I thought you said you hated being harassed and it was too much. Now you're saying you're a big, strong, confident girl, that you can take words on a screen? The hypocrisy is draining my mind right now.
There is no time off. There is no stop in video game production. You can monetize a hate video, but there is no hazard pay for harassment. And we are not, despite what you may have heard, so moneyed that we can just take a break or take a vacation and chill. So by day we worked, and meanwhile, all around us, the noise continues. And this is here because I remember one evening I was coming home and I was like, all right, I've dealt with too much today. I'm just going to relax by going to the Yakuza subreddit, which I have to say 99% of the time is a wonderful space. It's very funny and the people are pretty nice. But not even thinking, I scrolled past a joke about Sweet Baby Inc. And the thing is, in service of this great subreddit, it was actually well-intentioned. It was not a joke intended to make fun of us. It was intended to make fun of the campaign. But the strangeness of it still, of it being everywhere, of it feeling inescapable, but meaning nothing in my day-to-day, was too utterly bizarre.
Wait, you just accepted the internet for what it really is, but in the past you said that this is a problem and it's oppressing.
And beyond just having to mute a wonderful, wonderful safe place for myself, I also wanted to quit. I wanted to leave the company. I wanted to do something else. I'll tell you that running a self-funded business in a very volatile industry is very hard on a good day, especially when you do something with us. But it's hard, let alone when like Elon Musk is like crawling bleary-eyed out of his money pit to tell us that we deserve to go broke. It's a disaster. But
Liar, liar, plants for hire.
Nah, she got away with it so many times. What's going to stop her from doing it again? Nope, 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 nope. She's a liar. She was the one who made this company. She was the one that wanted to dominate it with her poisonous ideology. She is the one that hates us, tries to silence us by getting our Steam accounts taken down. She was getting power for a while, but now the Black Widow herself has been found. She's trying to gaslight and pull us by the heartstrings to stop calling her out, or we'll be labelled as harassers. Nope, she's a sociopath, and I stand by that.
But what happens when you get harassed is also that you realize all you have is each other. And you can maybe call it trauma bonding, but when there are no prizes and no funds and no vacations and as compensation, right? And the only thing you have on your plate is suddenly your widely derided work, you also start to make more space for each other. You start to recognize that the work will sometimes feel thankless, but that you still love it. And you love it, fortunately or unfortunately, because you get to do it together as a team, and for us, that means we're doing it as Sweet Baby Inc. Widely derided work, you also start to make more space for each other, because you get to do it together as a team, and for us, that means we're doing it as Sweet Baby Inc.
When she says to make spaces for each other, right there, she wants to turn the video game industry into her cult. She wants to invade. She wants to put her poisonous values and personifications into her new followers to become just like her. Don't take things at face value, guys.
What happens when you get harassed is that you forget who you are, but then you remember. We are writers, we are storytellers, we are narrative designers, we are creative, we are passionate, we are funny, and we are doing this because we love it. We love it so much, in fact, that we'll do it even through the worst months of our lives, because our lives ultimately are about stories. And as I wrap up, I want to say that that's frustrating too, because it makes it really hard to talk about. There is an instinct, I think, in all of us, or at least a desire to tell a good story. And this whole thing, whatever it is, isn't a very good story. There's not much of an arc, and frankly, there is no resolution as yet. Sometimes a story...
That's funny. Then why does your ideology always come first in the story? Why can't you just let yourself loose like most writers? But no, ideology must come first. I, myself, Kim Beliar, must insert myself into every story, and nobody's going to stop me! Okay, it's a little over dramatic, but it's true.
Story is just what happens. And what happens is you get hurt, you feel bad, you get tired, you get scared, you get angry, you get sad, you get really, really good at Elden Ring. Thank you. I'm great at it now. But after that, you get back to work. Because what happens when you get harassed is that you have to live with it, and they have to live with you. And so we'll see, I guess, what happens next. Thank you for your time.
After watching that and after discussing it, the more I start to understand and the more I can see where Cameron Wild gets his traits from. So what did we learn today? Sweet Baby Inc., the cult where you can get away with being a sociopath and be handsomely rewarded by naive and stupid video game companies. Now, about Chris Cringer getting fired by Sweet Baby, remember this. This was the person that tried to get Smash JT fired. the guy who tried to get Krabutus' Steam account taken down, a line in the sand that no video gamer should ever cross, as that is our sacred library, as games aren't cheap these days. The guy that tried to destroy Akira Toriyama's legacy, especially on the day he tragically left the world, accusing him of Mr. Popo being black-faced, but doesn't know anything about the character's origins, let alone that Buddhism is one of the main religions in Japan. It's like the Pokemon Jinx controversy all over again. Yep, complete sociopath at his finest. Remember what I said in my previous video, in a cult, once someone has no use anymore, or worse, the cult leader has told the individual to do the task for them, even though they know full well it's immoral or it's going to have consequences, the CEO will say, "We have nothing to do with this. This was all this person's doing, and to make us look innocent and not guilty, we have shunned and ostracized this person."
A new issue day? A cocksucking motherfucking new issue day! This is what you do! Hey, everybody, listen up! This is what happens when you fuck with your pets on new issue day! Take your little bow tie, get your shit, and get the fuck out of my office, you understand? Get the fuck out! Get the fuck out of here. Everybody on point! We are here to make money! Everybody on point! Fuck you, bow tie.
What happened to Chris Kindred is the fate that will happen to many others to come. It's only a matter of time. Speaking of which, Sweet Baby has erased everything on their website, from who they are partnering with, from their employee history. Well, Kim, you can erase everything on your site, but little do you know, the internet is a library archiving machine, and even I myself have the archives on my drive as well. The internet is forever, Kim, and it always will be. Right then, I'm off to have a vodka rocks just to rejuvenate my soul back into my body after it being sucked out by this seminar. This is Xoxo15 signing out. Oh, by the way, if you want to join my Velvet Room, the Discord link is below. If you have a subject, a game, or a video game character you want me to discuss, let me know here. This is Xoxo15, really signing out.
Yeah, thanks again for making us eat garbage.
It's not garbage.
It's better. Not woker.
It's garbage.